The only problem you could potentially run into applying N3 is you don't buff the N3 off quickly enough or thoroughly enough. And what happens in that case is you'll get a streaky surface. And for me, I'm pretty used to applying the N3, and it was actually hard for me to demonstrate on this practice board because I intentionally messed up this board to show you how to fix it. But for you, if you're used to traditional wood finishes, this isn't a wood finish. This is just a nano coating to go over your wood finish. And you only have anywhere from 30 seconds to 90 seconds to buff it off. So if you're used to a traditional wood finish and you're gonna come back in 10 minutes, you will have problems. So if you do have those problems, if you get that streaky finish, this is the video on how to fix it. The method to fix the streaks isn't particularly difficult, but it can be a little intimidating, especially since we're dealing with a finished piece of furniture here. So the first line of defense is just don't get them in the first place. Make sure that you buff that N3 off entirely, but here's the process. The main tool we're gonna need to fix these streaks is a gray pad, and this is a gray non-woven pad. They're made by 3M, you can buy them in woodworking stores, and they're also called a Scotch-Brite pad, but make sure you get the gray one, because these colors are like grits. There's a maroon, there's a white, there's a red. You want the gray pad. The process that we're gonna use to remove these streaks is to use this gray pad on an orbital sander to physically abrade the surface and remove the N3 streaks. And I know you're thinking it's gonna stretch the surface, it's gonna look terrible, and it'll look a little frosted at first, but then to fill all those scratches, we're gonna apply a couple more coats of N3, and the N3 is actually thick enough that it will fill the scratches made from this gray pad. I buy these gray pad sheets at woodworking stores or on Amazon, and to make them fit my orbital, all I do is I set it on my orbital, and then I cut a square, and it actually gets held on there just fine from that pad on the orbital sander. I like to turn the sander down a little bit. Every sander is slightly different, but just not full speed. Then I only use about the weight of my hand, sometimes even just the weight of the sander. Then I keep the orbital moving, trying to get just a nice, consistent frosted sheen, and I'll stop every couple seconds, peek down, take a look at it, start up again, and just keep going until I get it as consistent as I can across the entire piece. The piece looks pretty good now, but I still think I see a couple of streaks, so I'm gonna go a little bit more on that orbital sander and see if I can get it a little more uniform. You want just like a nice uniform frosted glass look, which it'll never look just like that, but that's your goal. All right, right now your piece should look kind of flat and dull. It won't look very good, but don't be discouraged. And we're just going to apply the N3 just like we did before. And I have an application video if you want to check that out, but I'm gonna do same as before. I'm gonna do 2 of the hard coat and then a couple of the top coat. And it might not bring all of that sheen back after the hard coat, but as you start to build those coats, it'll fill in those gray pad scratches. That went about perfectly. Right now, I can't see any of the streaks that were there before. I still think it can look a little better as I bring up that sheen with another probably 1 coat of the hard coat, maybe 2 coats of the top coat, but the streak problem has completely gone away. So feel good about that, but let's make it look a little better. Okay, I ended up adding 1 more coat of the hard coat for a total of 2 coats of hard coat and 2 coats of the top coat, and I can't see any streaks left in it. It's a little hard to show on camera. It gets a little blown out with these lights here, but we'll show you a before and after. All in all, a really simple process. Hopefully you don't have to perform this process. Hopefully you get the application right from the beginning, but if you do have any problems, pretty simple fix.